Welcome to Luthiers Tips, Tricks and Training from Crimson Guitars. I'm Ben Crow and this video is brought to you by tiny little chisels. I'm quite excited about these things. In the last episode I made an inlay out of a material I should not have used for such a fine design. And my original plan for that inlay was to basically, it wasn't to inlay it, it was just a logo that was going to be applied to the front of the guitar. All that has changed because of the consistency of the material that I chose, which I chose because it works with the rest of the absolutely yet insane guitar that we've made. In this episode, I'm going to be inlaying it into the headstock. There's a reason why this is a standalone video. There's several reasons, but the main one is that I've done a few interesting things in this process. So, hey, I hope you enjoy. And if you spot something that I need to learn, please hit me up in the comments. Burn it. So when applying logos, I want it to be in line with the strings and also have a relatively even distance between the edges that are closest to the outside points of the guitar. Many of you will already be questioning me and saying, why the hell are you doing an inlay after the strings are on and the finish has been done? My original thought for this wasn't that I was going to inlay it. The original plan was to essentially use gem setting techniques, i.e. I lay a nice strong metal logo, it is a logo, on the top, and then take beautifully shaped silver or brass pins and use those as one would set a gemstone. And it's a unique, something not often used in guitar building. You be the judge of all of this. This pewter is not strong enough for that, so I have to inlay it, which obviously makes life a little bit harder for me at this stage. Of course, I've made this template to match the ideal form of this logo, and then you use that to mark out where you're going to be cutting. Now I'm going to use a water-based glue to hold this down, something that can be removed easily. Pritt stick, or a generic brand glue stick. I love that I'm starting to use things like, well, glue sticks and plasticine, etc. in my day-to-day high-end guitar building obsession. If it works, it works. Now I'm hoping that this sticks down just enough. Ooh. That I can safely mark around it. I am a clamp. Thinking clamp. Nope. No, I don't think I put enough on there. Oh no. Fail. Plan 2B. This is fish glue. Okay, and fish glue is something that with a little bit of warm water will delaminate quite nicely. Now once this is fully hard, the glue, it's not that easy to remove, but it's not going to be on there for very long. And I wanted something that was basically gentle, because I do not want to break this logo. I will sit there for 5 or 10 minutes, no more. It's already fairly solidly in place. At this point, holding it down just to make sure, I go along and score exactly around where I want to recess this logo. A little bit of water. So it's delaminating in a few spots because I came through fairly rapidly. There we go. Get rid of that. No mess, no fuss. And there we go. I've got the marks I need. We also have finally launched the new set of crimson inlay chisels. So we've got a set with a 2mm, a 0.9mm, a 0.5mm and a 0.2mm, and these are standard chisels. They nest into themselves to keep these things nice and safe. Isn't that beautiful? Taken from a vintage tool that I had and loved. And then there's a 0.4 and a 0.1, and these have a little curve in them here, and those are for clearing out scraping, carving, cutting, and these are also actually being sold as fret slot scrapers. I really need to get moving, so yeah, if you are interested, these, well, they're amazing. I'm incredibly happy, and it's worth the wait. Onwards. So initially with a sharp scalpel blade, I follow the lines around, the correct lines. There's 2 in that spot. Now you can see I've got fingers on the guitar, 3 fingers holding the scalpel, and then my other hand is also holding the headstock, and my thumb is stabilizing my other hand. Maybe overkill, but I've not had enough coffee today. The initial cut serves as a guide. So you go fairly gently, and then as you go deeper and deeper and deeper, if the angle of your blade is inside the previous cut enough, it will follow along and it won't be as tempted to follow the grain and go completely off. Then it's just a case of going through and removing the excess. Where is my grain going? Probably the other way, which would be annoying. It is, I need to come in from the other side. Damn it. So that's a 0.5 millimeter there, and it's not quite big enough. This is one of the little curved ones. And essentially the plan with these is that you can go in right into the smallest of corners and yeah, be as precise as you need to be. .2 millimeters. I cannot believe that this is a required tool, but it is. I wouldn't want to be doing this next section with the rotary tool. It would be insane. Once you've gone in to a certain depth, you go back with your scalpel and make those initial outline cuts deeper. If you're just cutting the wood, it does want to follow the grain, and it does want to cause some level of tear out and nastiness, and we don't want that. This is the 0.2. And essentially it's a cut to cut. So I've got my scalpel marks, and then the chisel is going in and chipping out the excess. There are no other chisels on the market that would do this. I don't actually think I'm going to need that rotary tool at all. This wood is fairly soft and quite chippy, and having had the Shisugi burning done to it, even more so. I strongly believe that there will never be only one method, only one way to move forward, especially in craft, especially in making. And people who insist this is the way don't necessarily actually know what they're talking about. They might be able to say this is, in my opinion, the best way, but people who say this is the way, it irks me. Wood is wonderful. There are many different ways that you can remove material, and throughout this process I've been trying to avoid using the traditional rotary tool powered method, because well, I don't really fancy kicking all of that dust up into the air. And genuinely, this is the way. No, scraping the cavity is giving me so much more control and giving such a cleaner effect that I think this is, I'm quite excited. There is far less chance of me losing control, of me slipping. Why should we rely on power? Why should we rely on dental burrs and rotary tools? They definitely have their place, and I love my rotary tools, 100%. This is something you're going to see me doing a lot more moving forward. And there's a really low barrier to entry as well. You could do this with a sharpened nail if you fancied it. Now this is relatively soft, relatively chippy material at this point, and that's actually making this more difficult. If I was doing this in a maple or snakewood, I don't know why that comes to mind, but snakewood, something harder, more solid, it would actually be far easier. Now in a production setting, yes, CNC machine, 100%. Laser cutter even, if you're going to make a separate plate to glue onto the top. You could cast and mold. You can use templates and routers and all of these sorts of things. But in a small hand workshop, doing a one-off fine detailed inlay design or logo or something like this, I like this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I've been very carefully going around the entire inlay and just finessing the fit, checking each of the corners, seeing that they're open enough and that it's going to go in easily. I have absolutely messed my week up basically through choosing such a delicate material to make the inlay out of. It's not been ideal. I think that this is one of the cleanest inlay cavities that I've ever created. In reality, it hasn't taken that much longer than if I'd used traditional tools, etc. The result is better. There are going to be a few gaps here. I want it to be filled. So I'm going to mix fish glue and our aluminium powder inlay dust. This stuff does have a longer drying time, but that's not a problem. There we go. So we've got a filler paste, or a gap filling formula now. A bit smelly, but well, what can you do? Because they fit in the cavity so well, I'm just going to use one of these chisels as the applicator as well. There's no point in making more mess than you absolutely have to. That pewter's bending as I'm putting a bit of pressure on it, because that is about 3/10 of a millimeter wide at that point. Not ideal. And if I see any gaps, there's some fresh powder or some glue that hasn't cured yet, and just squeeze that in. Now that I'm sure all the gaps are filled, I'm going to take a lightly damp paintbrush and brush any of the glue that's not where I want it out of the way. Nice and clean. You put your tool down, you move the camera, then you spend 5 minutes looking for the tool that is always either underneath the mat on your bench or behind the guitar neck, no matter where you thought you put it. This has been a really interesting exercise. It's taken longer than it should have, but I do not begrudge it the time. I'm really enjoying playing with products and techniques and tools and just stuff that isn't common. Take a relatively stiff bristled brush and basically press the tissue down where you want it to be, and that'll act as a as a bit of blotting paper. Remove all water, remove all stain if you're lucky, and you end up with something clean and professional looking. This is a particularly useful technique if you are cleaning old gilt picture frames or pieces of carving. Now that the inlay is actually encased all round, I'm going to be able to get the edges a little bit cleaner than they currently are. Much like I did with the floor of the cavity itself, I'm just very gently going along and scraping the edges of the pewter. Cleaning up any glue, any spooge, any super glue from gluing the substrate on, etc. I essentially want the inlay to reflect every little bit of light that hits any surface. With that done, I'm going to use a tiny little spot polishing strop after a superfine fret polishing rubber to, polish it all up. Getting in on all the edges and just homogenizing the top, and then using a little bit of the Crimson Ultra Mega Versatile Multi-Use Guitar Polish on the little strop. Just going to bring the top right up there. Clean it off with a soft cloth. And you'd think that I was done at this point, but, well, I need to admit to something. Okay, this guitar is going to our friends over at Leo and Ted. It's for sale. You can have it. Whatever price, hopefully one of you people pays for it, is nowhere near the amount of money that I should have charged for it. Period. I have gone so over budget, and I don't give a shit. I'm happy with what I'm making. This is one last little stage on the actual inlay itself that is going to make it just pop. The best way to accentuate a nice shiny surface is through putting it right next to something that has a different texture. I'm going to take the edge of my chisel and just put a small bevel as an outline. Now this is also going to protect the inlay from snagging. And of course I've got a really weird set of angles to play with. This is where my interest in jewelry and watches and the making thereof comes to the fore. This isn't the sort of thing that guitar builders would tend to try and do. Why the hell have I decided to do this sort of stuff immediately after I've been told I actually need to wear glasses to work and before I've had the prescription filled? What the hell? Huh. I've got to lift little letters. Get away. This is the never-ending thing. I'm taking this very, very, very fine brush and just covering up the widest gaps with some black Crimson Stunning stain. Now I filled it with silver and then immediately thought, I probably should have done that with black. A little bit of guitar finishing oil and a polish and we'll be done. This is the finish that is on there, but I suppose there's a chance that you'll see that some of it was a little bit more recent. So I'm just going to cover the whole thing. Thank you for watching. Please click like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Almost nothing that I've done on this instrument was actually required. This inlay could have been done in moments and been perfectly fine. I didn't need to create custom tree bark. Trees do that for me. The sum of its parts, the sum of what has happened here though, I think makes it worth all of the time. And I've had a blast. I hope you have too. Yeah, go make some sawdust for me, please. See you soon. Bye-bye. Oof.